All right, guys, so this is Pinball Designer version 7. Let's see, let's just go down the list as quick as possible. So I have a coils tab right here. You can go see all your coils. You can click them here and configure them. You can also click like the flippers down here and you'll see the coils and stuff here. It's just another tab to see what's going on. Same thing with switches. And over here, you can see if they're electrically plugged in. So if I go under the hood here, I haven't configured any of this wiring, so it's just a way to know that, and it'll auto map the inputs to the proper hardware too if you do that. I got cabinet light options now, so if I go here into the cabinet, if I go to the table settings, if you go to, let's see, where is it at? So if you go to number of cabinet lights per side, you can say like 20, and you see it adds all these lights over here. Let me just zoom in real quick. So there you go. So I said 20 lights per side, and it automatically creates all of them. Just to preview in the light show, you can go to the light show tab. If you target it into cabinet, and it's this laser forward one. I showed this before, but you can see these lights are going through here. I'll just zoom in a little bit further. And you can do things like change the thickness here. So I think this is the right, I got to change the name there. It's the wrong name. Yeah. So it's 8 inches wide. So now you see there's more lights. As it goes, I can change this to like 15, so now it's a really thick laser basically going through there. So that's a little precursor into the light show editor. So if I get out of there, it just resets the lights so they're not taken over by the light show. A lot of people complained about, let's go back here, a lot of people complained about the background here, so now it's just gray. It used to just be a bunch of like weird arcade images in the background. These sound settings now here for the sound effects and the main effects, those actually work. So if you disable that, you won't hear the flippers for the sound effects. I showed you a little bit of light show editor there. I'll show you another thing working in the cabinet so you can see what it looks like. I showed this in another video where you can actually see the real hardware, update the light show in real time. Code sequences can now be designated as mode, so they can like block other, if you go here, it says is a mode, you hit 1, and you can also say it's blocked pause during other modes. This is a way so that you don't start multiple code sequences while they're active. So like Foo Fighters, if you're starting a city, you can't start, you can't qualify another city and start it. So once a mode's active, it's exclusive and it locks all of the other code sequences. It'll actually just stop them. And you'll see it print paused by a mode over here. So if it's active, it'll say paused by mode or paused by multi-ball. You can now put in variables tab. If you add new, you can change the type from integer, float, string, and collection. Collection is one I just showed off in the Misfits game. Again, it's tied to something like Iron Maiden, where you have like 8 different lights or so, or 8 different items. And once you achieve one, you mark it as completed. So that collection item completes. Now you only have 7 items. You complete the next one. It goes to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When the collection is complete, like for instance, if it's a collection of modes, you can check if the collection's complete. And if it is, you can activate code sequences like, qualify for the wizard mode or start the wizard mode. So and string, it's just easier for some values. Like if you want a string value that if you hit the left loop and you say like in the Metallica game, the left loop is active, you can say, what's the active shot? You can say like left shot, right shot. It's easier than just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's kind of harder to read code. But what I did here is you can also, if I change it back to an integer, you can compute them from different variables. So again, another way to do this is if you have like 6 modes and they complete, you can go here and just go to your user and do variable 1, variable 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if all 6 modes are complete, it would add up to 6. And then somewhere else in the code, you could have a code sequence that's looking for a conditional, which I'll show you here. And you would just right here look up a variable. So you can make variables from other variables is the point. So again, if I have like mode 1 complete, mode 2 complete, mode 3 complete, and these are all 3 different variables, in that variable, I can click on it and I can say variable 1, 2, and 3, and it'll add those all up to 3. And you can just check, is this variable, the master mode complete equal to 3? Then I know that they're all done. So it's just a really nice way to create variables. I added the stern left and right, left flipper and start button will reset a game. That's common in stern. I think all the other brands have picked that up at this point. Um, the game will continually kick out a ball if one doesn't make it into the trough. So sometimes the trough doesn't get a ball out for whatever reason. So it'll try it up to 3 times when it's trying to kick a ball out. I have a couple new parts. One of them is the saucer here. So you can click it. You see right there, I have a hole. It's actually a 3D cutout hole. If I drop it in there and it makes it, let me just put it right on top. It'll kick it out by default. Let's see. I do have multiplayer support for all these code sequences. So if you go in here and start a game, it automatically duplicates all of your code sequences, and it'll let you know here some information. But it'll start all those code sequences that you have right here, just copies them and runs them. So when the new player's up, it resets all the global variables for that player and everything. So multiplayer works, and it's great. What else? I had some other issues with the COM port. If you loaded Windows up and there was like any other program trying to talk to the COM port, it would lock the hardware, so I fixed that. Let's see, user variables, talked about that. Slingshots and pop bumpers and stuff. If you look over here in your coil settings, it says controlled by switch. So this needs to get fixed on this template here, but you can do slingshot left or right. So you can set any coil to be controlled by a switch. So like if you have a kickback in the left lane here from like any game, like the Misfits game has it, there's a kickback right here in the left out lane, and you can just tell it that it'll trigger anytime that a switch hits. It just helps. The hardware doesn't have to talk to the computer. It can automatically in a nanosecond turn on a coil once the switch is active. When the machine is set to free play mode now, it doesn't show any coin information. It'll just say free play mode. I now have high scores, so you can track. It'll track 12 different high scores. So grand champion, the next champion, and then 8 other scores or so. It'll also track modes as well. So if you go into like a sequence here, and you can track high scores to 1. So the sequence 1, it'll output that to a file, and it'll track all the scores coming from this sequence from a user, and automatically it'll update that mode, and you can fetch those variables later. We'll go through that in the advanced programming thing, but yeah, it tracks high scores, and there's some high score screen support we'll go over here in a minute. There's a deactivate code step now. So if you look at the drop down, there's a couple new things like deactivate code step, set variable, update variable, conditional logic is a good one. You can play light shows now. You can just grant points. So update score, if you complete like a whole code sequence and you want to give 1,000,000 points, you can do that. Force end ball is another one that's useful if you do something bad, or like if you played Godzilla, which is a highly popular game. There's a thing called the oxygen destroyer or something. It gives you a ball, and then you have like 10 seconds to complete something. Otherwise, you lose your ball. It force ends the ball. So that's what this does here. Force end ball will just shut down the flippers, and then the ball will just drain out because you can't use your flippers. When the hardware boots now, it'll try to load like an infinite number of lights on your playfield just so you can see if they're wired incorrectly. So when you boot my hardware now, you'll see on the playfield like every single playfield light and every single cabinet light should be lit, so you know the connections are good. Code sequences now list references to other code sequences. So code sequence 2, let's say code sequence 1, all it does is activate right here, activate code sequence, and I'll type in sequence 2. If you click on sequence 2, it'll tell you it's referenced from sequence 1. So that's another way to track like what code is doing what. So in the Misfits game, you can start a multi-ball from almost every single mode, depending on how you complete it. So it'll tell you start multi-ball is referenced from 6 different areas in code where that can activate it. It's kind of nice to know. What else? There's a bunch more. Disabling coils. You can enable and disable coils too. So enable disable coil right here. Again, what this is useful for is like a kickback. So if you qualify for a kickback, you enable the coil. If it's not, you want the kickback to be off and you want the ball to drain, so you can turn it on and off based on some code that you write. I can now generate CNC files with no inserts. So if you just want to do a white wood and shoot it and check out the geometry, you can just skip all of the lights and just put it together, just a playfield and just the hardware parts to move the ball around. Just it's easier to iterate if you're planning a pre-iteration before putting all the inserts in and clear coding and everything. I added, this was one that people hated. So up here on the right, if you can see it, I have an X button to close this now. If you go into tab, you don't see it. So you would normally just see the regular game. But I don't have a windowed mode here. A lot of people want to drag stuff. Remember, this is supposed to run a physical game. So I want it to be in full screen mode. That's the end goal. So this is not an actual window that you can drag in Windows. So I have my own X button here, which you can click and close. Again, some people had asked for that. They were confused. The only other way to do it is Alt F4, just closes the window. You can now resize your cabinet. I showed this off. If you go to table settings up here and you do the width and say like 80, boom, now I have a super fat table and it puts the cabinet sides all the way over here. I got to switch the cabinet front and I got to move the legs so it looks correct, but you can see like the cabinet side. Little bug here because it pushed it over far, but you can see the old Foo Fighters image there and you can see the inside of the cabinet right there and the outside. So that's cool that it auto updates and you can place parts on this and it will spit out the CNC file. Doesn't really matter how big your thing is. It's all vectorized data. And in wireframe mode, you can see all the mechs underneath the hood there. Where else are we at? So I got instant info. I'm going to show you all these guys. I'm going to load up the Misfits game real quick here. So here's the high score screen real quick. So you can go through, you hit start button, puts your initials there, and then you go all the way to hit end, auto tracks it. I think I have these flipped, so delete is actually end. Yep, there you go. So here's the demo screens. They're just going through. So I have a background and then it goes to demo screen 1, which is just my logo, then high scores, and then it'll go to who made the game and it'll just go back and forth through those. So it goes back to Pulaski Pinball. So just real quick, how you do that is when you first load your file, you will get a bunch of screens that are automatically built into the system, like gameplay main screen. It's in every single game. So demo screen here, if I click that, it's just an image called high score screen, which is what you see the background. And then subsequent screens go over top of that. So here's demo screen 2, which is just my Pulaski Pinball logo. Demo screen 3 is all of this. So if you just click on any of these, you can see this is coming from a global variable, high score, number 0, and the name of the player, which is A, high score 1, high score 2, high score 0, etc. And you can click on these and it'll say high score. So this is the high score name and this is the high score value. So you can read these variables, put your own fonts, move them anywhere you want to. So you're designing your own high score screen and you're just going to the global variable system and fetching what stuff is available. And then up here in the top left, it is a pinball currency info, which I told you it now says free play if it's in free play. If it's not in free play, it would just put how many quarters you have in the game or how many credits you have active. But again, all you got to do, so you can just make infinite demo screens. So this will just scroll. So normally this would be the game in full screen. You would just come by the arcade and see it. And as long as you go, has the name demo screen and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 100, it'll go through all 100. It'll just cycle those as you go. I also, let's see if it works here. So if I hit the start button and buy a player in, if no switch is hit for like 5 seconds and you're holding left or right flipper, you should see there's the instant info screen. And I think I only have one. Let me see here. Yeah, I think I only have one right now, but if you have instant info and any other one named instant info 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it'll automatically scroll those screens for you and you can set up those screens however you want. Again, you can put your own data, you can put your own fonts, whatever variables you want to print, like here's how many items I've collected, here's how many modes you've completed, how many, whatever you want to put in there, it'll just cycle those instant info screens. I put in support for tilt warning. This one just says danger. Here's the tilt screen. It just says tilted and it's got a skeleton there. Yeah, so those will just automatically happen if you have a tilt bob configured. It'll just, as soon as it hits, it'll get a danger and it'll give you just one warning and then go straight to tilt, and it will disable the flippers and do all that stuff for you. Coin door settings, I believe these are in here now. Yeah, include coin mech. So if you want to actually have a coin door with a coin mechanism, it'll add a new switch for that. I think if I go into admin settings and go to switch test here, so there's nothing in here. I'm gonna go and try and add it and see if it pops up. Actually, let's just go to switches and go to the bottom. So there's shooter lane is the last switch. Go up here. I'm gonna add a coin mech. Boom. So you got a coin door switch, which is usually disables the high voltage, and you also have a coin switch for inserting quarters. So they're both -1 right now. So eventually I'd need a board in there. I'd need to plug it into index like 32 and 33 here. So I'd need another board for inputs. Oh, what else? A couple other parts I got. I had a request for these star posts. So those are in some of the older games. I'm not sure what newer games have them, but they're in there. They work. They got rubbers and they got CNC data for them. GI bulbs. If you go into inserts, I now have GI bulbs that you can actually buy in the real world, and they also map here. So these are 10mm bulbs, and these are hooked up. So they do have a hardware index and everything. They can work with light shows. I can change it to green just to see it here. I can put another one. Eventually you'll be able to move these up and down and see them better, but you can see that they're at least there. They're hooked up, and the hardware knows about these lights that I've placed already. So if I had a gain plugged in, they would be green and they would be blue. The flipper physics is a little bit better. I haven't done a whole lot with virtual physics. As far as supporting the best virtual pinball stuff, it's going to be tough. I'm trying to get into manufacturing and get this physical stuff in circuit board support. But I did update the physics a little bit with the flippers, so they pull the ball back just a little bit more. You can see the flipper angle here is really high up, but you can see that it'll pull it back a little bit more when you hit it, so it's a little bit more realistic. You can now shift up and down your secondary playfield. So if you got a secondary playfield here, if you change the height here to, let's say, 5, you see it just moved up. So it's higher in the world. I have admin settings. I've always had them, but now I have a button. Usually it's just shift and tab. It'll bring it up like that. But now I have an icon in here when you're in the editor mode. So admin settings, you can go to switch test, see all your switches, use the flippers, go to coil test, and you can go down these and hit start button and it'll trigger them. You got light test, generic settings. These have been in. I don't think all these are hooked up properly, especially with the new hardware with Pinball Designer, but you can change them and you can get out of these screens. If you just hold down the start button, it'll exit those screens. That is pretty much it, guys. There's a bunch of other stuff that was bug fixes or small features that you wouldn't see, but hopefully that gives you a good idea. I do have wire forms now as they get bigger. You can kind of see it here. Let me show you. So now that I raised it up, you can see that it has joints, like the solder joints, just to show you like where they would go and what they would look like. There's 2 of them there. I put this in as well. This is a vertical upkick welded thing here. And you can change the height of it. So I can make it like 3 inches tall. So if you had a kicker, that's going to come up and kick the ball really high up in the air. Yeah, that was a new feature. Yeah, so many things. So I fixed, again, the main flow of the game works. You can kick 3 balls in. Every time they drain, you get the end of ball screen. So I showed that off before. Let me see. I got 2 balls here because it's stuck in virtual mode. But there's the ball save that automatically clicks as soon as the ball drains and you have a ball save. So these screens are automatically happening right there. I just started a mode, actually, but now end of ball. So the ball save was over and I drained. So all those screens just get put on and you can put movie clips or whatever you want super quick. Get everything running super quick. So that's it. I'm releasing this today, and anybody that's purchased should have an email. Check your spam. If you want to get in on this, I'm probably going to put a link on my website where you can just buy it now. It's pretty far along, and then pretty soon after here, if you don't buy it, it's probably going to go up to $59.99 instead of $50. There's a lot of work in here, and it pretty much does everything for you, and everybody's loving using it. My two customers with the physical games are liking it, and circuit boards are right around the corner. So you guys can make games super quick on a professional level. And yeah, I think it's worth it with the software and the hardware. I mean, you're getting a good deal. So thank you. It's Pinball Designer version 7.